So George is eating from the trash. Elaine is getting ink all over Mr. Pitt before a big meeting and ruining a possible business transaction because of a name. Kramer is a kidney stone. And Jerry, well, to make sure I get this right, Jerry is attempting to enter a magical world of sensual delights that most men dare not dream of. Yeah, that sums up this episode of The Gymnast. This was a crazy episode. The main story, of course, revolves around, Jerry dating an Olympic gymnast. And, of course, after Kramer's just urging Jerry to be more into this than he should, shows him a tape, of course, of what the girl can do. And basically, Jerry really sets the bar high for her. Yet when they spend one night together, he finds himself experiencing mediocrity. Yep. So let's talk about the episode. So the episode starts off with Jerry and George talking as George is getting ready to go meet Lindsay's parents. Lindsay is the girl that George was dating in the couch episode that he screwed up with the whole breakfast with Tiffany's incident. She's getting ready to meet the family. He's ready to get to meet the family, of course, which he at first makes a very good impression. The Aunt Phyllis likes him, the mother likes him. George saying how big of a family man he is, and he even lies and says his family is also family people also, which I'm like, yeah, that's quite a lie. But he seems to be really hitting off and really enjoying it. So he offers after Aunt Phyllis leaves to go clean up the dishes. He does so, takes it to the kitchen, just after the mother is complimenting George on how much of a gentleman he is. He goes into the kitchen and he sabotages it all. Because he opens up the garbage. At the top of the garbage pile, on top of a magazine, is an eclair that has one little bite bitten into it. That George, looking around, makes sure nobody sees him, pulls out and starts eating. Unfortunately, he didn't time it right, and the mother came in and saw him. And that great positive impression he gave just went away like that. And the first of two times he went chasing after her going, no, Mrs. Enright, Mrs. Enright. Now, we'll get back to George in a little bit. Again, Jerry, meanwhile, of course, is dating this gymnast, and Kramer is encouraging him to really, explore this magical world that men dare not enter or whatnot. But Jerry's like, nah, I'm not going to do that. He's fine with her, but he's just, he's not going to take it that far. Kramer, though, goes over to stop at Elaine's, at Mr. Pitt's office, because Elaine says there's some art there, some 3D art that he wants to pick up a copy of. When Kramer opens it, though, Mr. Pitt becomes obsessed with it. He will not pay attention to anything else. He's just trying to figure out what this 3D art was, that he literally was trying to pay attention to for pretty much the rest of the entire episode. Which drives Elaine nuts, because Mr. Pitt makes Elaine attend some big meeting he had about some business thing he had. She basically sits in and, takes the notes needed, and is instructed what to give to Mr. Pitt. When she hears the name of it, it's Poland and whatever it's called, being brought together. Let me pull it up here, because I'm trying to remember. But, combine Morgan and Poland, and calling it Moland, which Elaine laughs about, and she's just like, who came up with such a name like that? Which she finds out it was Mr. Pitt. which does kind of send that business transaction to a frenzy that Elaine obviously tarnished. Elaine and Mr. Pitt just has this very weird bond. But Kramer, though, has been having some pains in his hip for a while. He goes to the doctor to find out he has a kidney stone. And, it hurts, but he's waiting for it to be able to come out. And, there were times where, Kramer's across the hall and you hear him yelp for help, thinking that, the stone finally passed. And he goes, no, he was trying to do like an acrobatic thing or whatnot. George, meanwhile, though, of course, is trying to redeem himself. As he tells Lindsay, it's all a big misunderstanding, this and that, even though Jerry and George did have like a debate in the restaurant about, whether or not if it was garbage or not. And then he was George making an argument that, it was in the cylinder, above the rim. It was at the top of a pile, basically. It was still, in the paper or whatnot. And of course, Jerry asked the final question of, was it eaten? And then George goes, one little bite. And then Jerry goes, well, that's garbage. But he was able to redeem and give himself a second chance with Lindsay. However, though, he was going to make it up to Lindsay. He bought flowers to give to her. And he got himself a coffee that he didn't like. So he tries to toss the coffee off to the side. But the coffee goes on a guy's windshield. And the guy freaks out and tells him to clean it up. George, desperate, has the guy hold the flowers, and then George reaches into the garbage and grabs some newspaper and starts wiping off the coffee with a newspaper. Who happens to walk by? Lindsay's mother. And seeing that, she thinks George is a bum. And he has to chase her down again and go, Mrs. Enright! Mrs. Enright! Strike 2. Somehow, though, Lindsay forgives him yet again. So he's had 2 chances already. Well, technically this should be strike 3 because he already blew it with the whole breakfast with Tiffany stuff in the previous episode. Meanwhile, though, in the midst of his kidney stone pain, Kramer shows Jerry and George a video of Jerry's girlfriend, Katya, if that was her name, I can't remember what it was, the Romanian gymnast. And basically with how impressive the body can bend, Jerry's setting the bar very high for when it comes to staying over. In which before, they went inside, they were sitting in the car chit-chatting, and Jerry's just telling his girlfriend, how did you do all that? He was just so impressed by it, obviously really desiring even more. But then, of course, before they go in, the last thing she says before they go to the commercial break was that it's only meant for gymnastics. And she was right, because Jerry ended up being severely disappointed. He claimed that it was just very mediocre when they got into bed together. So, of course, basically, he's like, how long do I have before I, turn in? He's basically saying he's putting in his notice. So, Elaine's trying to talk him into giving her 2 or 3 weeks, which Jerry's like, oh, man, he wants to find some way to get out of this. So, she, of course, the girlfriend, Katya, invites Jerry to some circus, and he makes Kramer go with him since, Kramer, got him all fired up on this, and it just flundered. So, Kramer goes with Jerry to the circus. Elaine, meanwhile, goes back, and Mr. Pitt gets another big emergency meeting. But then, of course, this time, though, earlier in the episode, Mr. Pitt told Elaine how he hates when people use ink when they write. So he wanted her to use a pencil when public proofreading a paper or something like that. And then she was trying to get Mr. Pitt, the focus, but when she reached into the purse, she accidentally got her hands polluted with ink, and she got ink all over Mr. Pitt's jacket when she's shaking him after she broke the 3D art, trying to get Mr. Pitt to stop mesmerizing, obsessing over the art. And of course, Mr. Pitt had touched his where it fixed his jacket, got ink on his hand, touched his face, thinking, and he ended up basically giving himself a little mini Hitler mustache or whatnot, which led to the final scene where where he's having a meeting, but he obviously looks like he's impersonating Hitler pretty much because of how the mini mustache and how he put his hand up and whatnot, does this and that. George, though, meanwhile, goes in to see Lindsay's family after another date, and he goes to the bathroom. Now, I forgot to mention this, but in the first scene, it is revealed that apparently George takes his shirt off whenever he goes to the bathroom. Well, apparently there was another 3D art thing inside the bathroom George is in. He's mesmerized by the art, comes out, completely forgot to put his shirt back on. So he walks right out in front of Lindsay's family with no shirt on. He's like, I'm doomed. As he pretty much was. So that happened. Then at the circus, first off, we are reminded that Kramer's afraid of clowns. And then Katya introduces Jerry to one of her friends, Misha, who was about to walk on a tightrope. Kramer, though, was going to head to the bathroom really quick. He had a bunch of snacks. But then his stone passed. And Kramer gave out just a big yell in pain that echoed through the entire building, the entire circus, and it caused Katya's friend to fall off the tightrope. Of course, in the closing moments, Katya mentions how Misha will be alright, but now she must go to be with Misha, and she does not want Jerry to come with her. Jerry, of course, was trying to find some way out of this relationship sooner because he was severely disappointed by their one night together. He's like, oh no, why not? And she says, it has been 3 days since our night together. Misha said that this was all the time she needed to put in. In her country, they speak of a man so viral, so potent, that to spend a night with such a man is to enter a world of such sensual delights most women dare not dream of. Basically twisting the phrase earlier that Kramer gave describing, how it would be to sleep with a gymnast. This man is known as the comedian. You may tell jokes, Mr. Jerry Seinfeld, but you are not a comedian. And as she storms off, Kramer comes running out of the bathroom, whistling with much delight that his stone had passed. But of course, Elaine, of course, got ink on Mr. Pitt, when he went to his big meeting. George blew it again with Lindsay. Jerry loses the girl even though he didn't want her anymore, but Kramer, stone passed. Kramer came out the winner, I guess. That's my thoughts on The Gymnast. It's an okay episode. I mean, I like the stuff with George, just doing something that keeps giving Lindsay's mom the wrong impression. Kramer's kidney stone was fine. Stuff with 3D art was okay. The Gymnast stuff was whatever. I'd say probably as far as season 6 goes, probably my least favorite episode so far, I would say. But we will now move on to disc number 2 of season 6, which features a couple of my favorites, especially one of them. All I will say is it comes in a little bit. There is The Switch. The Switch. Can't be done. I wonder. And then, of course, we got the whole I choose not to run. We'll talk about that when we get to those episodes coming up. So, of course, with these 6 episodes, we did surpass the halfway point. So we are halfway done with the series for sure. We're at 92 episodes completed. We're almost to the 100th episode also, Seinfeld. Things have really gotten good the past couple seasons. And, yep, let's keep rolling. So guys, that's my review on The Gymnast. What was your thoughts on The Gymnast episode, guys? Please leave your thoughts down in the comments section below. And be sure as always to slap a like on the video and subscribe for more content on my channel. And follow me on Twitter as well at DemandAirboy93. Until then guys, I'm the CloudMan93. I'm checking out. I'll catch you all later in the next video. Peace out, everybody.
Yeah, no, I will survive. There's no